just like our Irani chai hotels, like in Hyderabad. The coffee club was a beautiful hub for discussing political, social, cultural, and literary related things in the coffee clubs. There was a reading sessions. That reading sessions were conducted in the coffee clubs. Coffee clubs slowly emerged as a political hubs and knowledge hubs. And unfortunately, these coffee clubs are not accessed by the women because women has a lot of restrictions during that period of a time. And this is one reason to develop the novel. And in this era, the 18th century great novels are semi-anti-romance because these are the personal experiences most of the time. Or it was the first time that the novel emerged and distributed widely and largely among its readers. Reading public, it is a first time experience. Earlier, that 18th century people were experienced only poetry and the drama. And that time, due to the License Act, the dramas were closed because most of the dramas, the dramatists, the playwrights, belongs to two political parties. Whatever we are reading, the famous John Dryden, all the people these people are belongs to a political party. They started writing poetry against each other. Two political parties were there during that period of time, Whigs and Tories. Whigs and WHIGS, Whigs and Tories. This information is available on page number 2 and 3 in your first unit. Whigs and Tories. So these people started writing, satiring, and a sarcastic way, and criticizing about the royal families or the kings or queens, their unethical or immoral activities. And this lead to a uncertainty in the political side. So that's why they issued a License Act. This is called as a first kind of a censor act in the history of literature. So whatever they want to enact a drama, that should be presented in front of a committee in the royal court, in the government. If they give an approve, then it is allowed to perform in the public. So such kind of a rule was imposed on the creative side. So many people did not like it. So that is why they were looking for a new art form to express their ideas. In this context, the novel was emerged. And slowly the theaters were closed. With the increase of the literacy, the demand on the reading material increased rapidly among well-to-do women who were novel readers of the time. I'm in a class. And because it is targeted to women because of the experience of the Spectator newspaper. And at the same time, theater was not such a feasible form of entertainment, but novel was due to its large audience and its spread all over the land in country houses. In other words, middle class was such an important factor behind the growth of the novel as a new form of art. All these things are there in the first unit. And the social and intellectual currents of that age were linked for creating something new and different. Those who carried out the action become individualized. Earlier, if the performances or the dramas were there is a group of people, a company was there, and they travel from here and there. There was a lot of business and nitty-gritties happen. But when it comes to the novel, it's an individual action. It's an individual perception. So that is why one person can change the ideas of the people. That idea slowly emerged in England during the 18th century of the time. Those who carried out the action become individualized. They were interpreted in and all their complexity and social pressure on them were minutely detailed. When people wanted to hear stories of those who are not too different from themselves in a community recognizably akin to their own, then a novel was born. It's an individual perspective, and at the same time, people wanted to listen the stories from their neighborhoods. So that is why this form of the novel emerged. And other reasons and factors that are influenced to English novel is that the invention of traveling library was one of those, and via trade. The traveling was happened that time for trading purposes, and the new travelers discovered new places like the Vasco da Gama, Columbus, new areas, and they were documenting their travel experiences. People wanted to know about the other side of their world. So that is one of the important factor. The social milieu and the social condition of the life of the middle class were very much affected by the rise of the English novel. These people in the 18th century were acquiring their education. What they were acquiring was less exclusively classical in context than the education of the upper class. The class division was there, and so that is the main motive of the Joseph Addison to launch his newspaper Spectator. Women readers were considered as a crucial factor in providing readership. A better education for women was coincide with a period of greater leisure for women in middle class and middle and upper class. And this is also one of the important factor. Women is that, and another one is that the reproduction of newspapers in the 18th century is evidence on the rise of the novel, and so is the popularity of the periodicals. This time, the famous novelist, or we can call him as the father of English novel, Samuel Richards. Samuel Richards, he introduced his novel, he started writing his novel. The novel name is Pamela. Pamela is the first English novel. This Pamela is called as an epistolary novel because it has written in a series of letters which provided examples of the correct way of continuing in various delicate social situations. Because this means it introduces the morality and ethics in one's own individual life and in the society when they were in the conflict or crisis, how they can manage themselves well with a accepted and approved social manner. These kind of things were discussed in this novel. Samuel Richardson is considered as a first novel writer, and his novel name is Pamela. Pamela is the protagonist's name here. This novel is written in the letter forms, in the form of a letter, because these people were the early English novel writers. That time, there was no proper structure developed for novel writing. The readers were also introduced by the novelists in new social worlds, proving the moral framework within which that behavior. The novel was dealing with the immediate details as no earlier fiction has been. As a result, it becomes long. And another important thing in continuation with that, this time, this time, uh, this time something happened during this 18th century. Uh, there was a this is called like this pandemic session, like this pandemic situation. There was a plague, the Great Plague of London. The Great Plague of London. It happened during the 1722. During the 1722. And this time, a book called, a writer called, a novelist called, he's a traveler, Daniel Defoe. Daniel Defoe written a novel in the 1719 around. This novel is called as a name as a named as a Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe. This novel is represented and reflected the real life events in the society, and it is a reflection of the social reality during that 18th century time. It is about a story of Alexander Selkirk. Alexander Selkirk. It's a versional story, but here the novel protagonist name is the Robinson Crusoe in this novel. Yeah. Yeah, this was discussed about the Richard Steele and Joseph Addison for their magazine called Spectator and the Tatler. The Tatler is another magazine or a journal or a newspaper, we can call it newspaper, journal, magazine. This deals with the rich class people, the royal community, royal class people, aristocratic people, and upper class people activities. This will discuss in the Tatler. And Spectator is dealing with every common man's activities in England. Yeah, these are the things about the early, the situation and the background of the early novel writing. The rise of individualism was also very significant in this period of a time, for it helped to 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 emerge the English novel, uh, like the individualization of characters and the detailed presentation of the environment. This novel is more associated with the town rather than to the village. And in some points, they are like, for example, both involve huge number of people leading interdependent lives and influencing, relying upon one another. The early novels were carrying these kind of material. And another important point here in this early Indian novels, early English novels, this is a rise of middle class, industrialization. You should remember when you are writing the exam. Industrialization, rise of middle class, and the emergence of sea traveling and trade businesses, and it started to write that their travel experiences, and that what is this magazines and newspapers, Spectator and the Tatler by Joseph Addison and Richard Steele. This helped to circulate a lot of information into the kitchens and drawing rooms of the middle class people. And when there were no women to access, there were no institutions allowed the women to access the education. That time, these people motive is to contribute something to the women who are staying in the houses. They want to, their idea is to give a university kind of education to the middle class people. And another important thing that they started writing the experiences in the forms of the letters. And another thing is that the era of theater is slowly declining because of licensing act. The people are not allowed to perform everything, whatever they write, because of this political party clashes, Whigs and Tories. And another thing is that uh, there is a slowly the development of the science and technology and the printing, and this is also helped to emerge the novel. These are the characteristics, and these are the points you should remember. And the middle class is a very very important thing, especially the middle class and the middle class women. And there is a new social order will begin. That time these novels are started into the market and into our reading rooms. These are the facts that are related to early novel writing. And in this context, we should know about four people. These are the four people are the considered the early English novel writers. One is our fellow Daniel Defoe, and other one is Samuel Richardson. Samuel Richardson, uh, Tom Jones, Tom Jones, Tristram Shandy, Lawrence Sterne. This is Tristram Shandy is a novel. Lawrence Sterne, Jonathan Swift. These people are the early English writers. And now we'll look at them. Uh, Wait, I'm screening something. Yeah, the word novel. Yeah, a novel is a relatively long work of narrative fiction. A novel is a relatively long work of narrative fiction, typically written in prose and published as a book. The present English word for a long work of prose fiction derives from the Italian word novella. Novella for new and news, or short story of something new. This is the meaning of the novella. It is an Italian word. This present term, the novel, is derived from the word novella. It's a narrative fiction, the novel means. So the earlier writers, so we look at first, this guy is, what is his name? Daniel Defoe. Daniel Defoe. Daniel Defoe has written a novel called Robinson Crusoe. I'm screening something, but I don't know how it will come. Okay, it's okay. The publication of Robinson Crusoe is done in the 1719 was an extraordinary event in the history of literature. There had been prose narratives before this book, but never so sustained a fictional account of one's individual experiences. Remember, friends, this is very important. There had been prose narratives before the Robinson Crusoe, which is written in 1719, but they were not sustained a fictional account of the individual experiences. This man's story was singular and new. What distinguished Robinson Crusoe were elements that now seem essential to the novel as a genre. It told an ordinary individual, even of his ordeals were extraordinary. Let's say individual man's as an individual person story, a ordinary person story. Hello? Is my voice audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm speaking about very less things about this Robinson Crusoe. Why? Because we have a lesson on him. And other one is that Pamela. Pamela, we should call him as a. The Pamela is the first English novel, as I discussed. It is a huge influential book. The publication of Samuel Richardson's Pamela in 1740, this novel, which told of the heroic efforts of a 15-year-old servant girl to resist the attempts of her master, Mr. B, to seduce her, was an immediate bestseller. A work of great moral intensity, it powerfully made the claim for the novel to be taken seriously. No, that information is very less here. It is there on the page number 3 and 4 in your textbook. There is a paragraph size of information is available based on this Samuel Richardson, Daniel Defoe, Sterney, and Henry Fielding. Just to go through them. Henry Fielding and Jonathan Swift. Henry Fielding, Jonathan Swift, and Lawrence Sterney. These people, these 5 people are the important people. Maybe there will be a long question. Who are the early English novel writers? Just take the notes from the textbook and write down. And just a while ago, I talked about the background information of the English novel. And that is also important question. And the same points, it is available from the first introduction page to the next page, first to second page. That information is available. Coffee houses, industrialization, rise of middle class, underline those points and give an explanation. Now I will look at the second unit. I will look at the second unit because the time is very less for us. We'll look at the second unit. Before going to second unit, in the first unit, I want to tell you 2 things. The types of novels. Types of novels is a picaresque novel. The first one is picaresque novel, Picaresque, picaresque novel, and epistolary novel, picaresque and epistolary novel. Epistolary novel also called as a sentimental novel. And another one is the domestic novel and Gothic novel. These are the early writings we can see. The word picaresque novel, you may have this in the multiple choice or fill in the blanks question. The picaro means what? Picaro, P-I-C-A-R-O, picaro means a rogue, R-O-G-U-E, rogue. And this term is originated from the Spain. It's a Spanish word, picaro. Cervantes, a writer called Cervantes, was a Spanish writer who wrote a novel called Don Quixote. Cervantes is a Spanish writer, wrote a novel called Don Quixote in 1605. Remember, in 1605, and with it begins the history of the picaresque novel. Picaresque novel. The rogue means is a traveler, is a wanderer. The unfortunate traveler is the best example of the picaresque novel in English. Here you remember, the first picaresque novel was written in Spanish language by a Spanish writer called Cervantes. The novel name is Don Quixote, written in 1605. The word picaro is derived from a Spanish language. It's a Spanish word. The meaning is rogue. The best example of the picaresque novel is Unfortunate Traveler. This term is applied for any long story in such a number of separate events, sometimes comic or violent, were joined together only by the fact that they happened to the chief character. Here in the novel, the chief character we call as a protagonist. It basically deals with the adventures of the hero. He moves from one place to another in English. Daniel Defoe was the first to write picaresque novel. After after Don Quixote, Daniel Defoe, the author Daniel Defoe, which we are going to discuss now, is written a novel called Robinson Crusoe. The Robinson Crusoe is the next novel. It completely written in a picaresque style. The picaresque nature of the picaresque is that the hero is the adventurous person. He travels, he moves from one place to another places. He experiences the adventures and the challenges. He stands for himself and individuality. These are the four things that picaresque novel carries. And another person, Henry Fielding, we are also going to discuss about him in the third unit. Henry Fielding draw on the picaresque tradition to set his characters on the road by involving them in a great variety of adventure. Whereas it comes to the Robinson Crusoe's, Daniel Defoe's novels, it's on the sea. It's on the sea because that was a sea journey was a famous activity. Like nowadays the software engineer job is a kind of a romantic job. Such kind of a way in those days in the 18th century, the traveling was a romantic job. The people are traveling from here and there. That means they are the very great learned and earned people. And when it comes to the Henry Fielding, this person has also written, but in a picaresque style, but it is on the roadside. It's a variety of adventure. And another early English writer called Tobias Smollett made the picaresque novel quite popular. He was acquainted with French and Spanish picaresque novels. Yeah, this is enough for the picaresque novel. And another one is the epistolary novel. Epistolary novel. The epistolary came from the word called epistle, which means letter. Epistolary novel means it's a letter writing. It's a letter writing. The story explained in the form of the letters. I wrote a letter and other person also written a reply to me. So that means we are exchanging the information in the form of the letter, and later this is considered as a novel. This kind of novel is written in form of series of letters. Here, the main character correspondence with others through letters. Samuel Richardson, the father of English novel. Samuel Richardson, the father of English novel. And his famous novels, Pamela, or Virtue Rewarded, is written in the form of epistolary novel or in the form of letters. This is for the epistolary novel. And another one is the domestic novel. It talks about the life within the house. Jane Austen, these people are the later. Jane Austen, Fan Burney, and these people have written the domestic novels. The another one is the Gothic. Gothic means horror. It's a Germanic tribe. This word is came from Germanic, and it's related to the Middle Ages. Towards the end of the 18th century, this Gothic style, the novel of terror or Gothic novel, is better known as the Gothic romances, emerged at the end of the 18th century. But now in the first unit, we are restricting to ourselves the early English writers in the 18th century. This is about that early English writers. And now we look at this unit. Which one? Unit 2, Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe is written by Daniel Defoe. It's a very, very important novel. It's considered as the first novel. It's considered as the first novel. One second. One second. Where is this? Wait, there is a problem I'm experiencing. Is it visible? Please let me know. Hello?
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Fine. Yeah, this is Robinson Crusoe. And from this compulsory question, from the first unit, just they introduced about these people, Robinson Crusoe, Henry Fielding, Tobias Smollett, Sterney, Lawrence Sterney, Jonathan Swift, and these are the early English writers that talked about it. Among them, we are going to study about the two people, Henry Fielding and Robinson Crusoe, first unit, second unit, and the third unit. One second, Robinson Crusoe I am discussing about. This is written by the Daniel Defoe. So Robinson Crusoe means it's a novel name. Sorry, the author name is Daniel Defoe. Look at this is Daniel Defoe about the author. I'm just going through it immediately. It's an English novelist. He is an English novelist and a pamphleteer, a journalist, because basically he is a traveler, is a pamphleteer and a journalist. Along with Samuel Richardson, Defoe is considered as a founder of the English novel. He was a son of a butcher, studied at Charles Morton's Academy, that is his education background. Despite his father's wish for him to be working in a ministry means the church, he plunged for politics and trade, especially in Europe. He was looking for a new kind of a job, but his father wished him to work in the church. 1680s commission of merchant of Cornhill, but went bankrupt. This is his personal background, because he has some this issue, that financial issue, so that is why he was not able to pay the money. That's about him. So his literary works, best known for Robinson Crusoe, which we are studying right now, which we are discussing, and wrote more than 500 books on the pamphleteers. A pioneer of economic journalism, because his job is a journalist. Journalist means he's documenting the things, because he was traveling from here and there. He documented the economic resources in his books. Even Robinson Crusoe also, we can look at these things. We can look at these things. And another important, what is this? This is called, no, this is not important for you. This is in detail, it is important, but I'm not going to discuss about these things. Yeah, just look at the brief summary of this novel. It's a story of a man named Robinson Crusoe who got shipwrecked all alone in an island. A man called Robinson Crusoe traveled in a ship. He is going for a trade to his England to another place, because basically it's a Spanish. He is going towards the Spanish, because there is a word called Spaniard frequently appear in this novel, Spaniard. And unfortunately, there was a storm happened and his ship was broken, and he stopped in an island. And it discusses about his strugglings. Here, he struggles to survive, and later on makes this island his. He was struggling to survive there, and later, when he is there in an island, he tried to occupy that island and makes its own of him. Although at first he tries to go back to the city, but when he finally reaches there, he does not feel the same sense of feeling he used to have. Since he got used to living all alone with animals and only one or two other people on the island, he eventually goes back to the island and lives there. That is a brief summary of the uh, of Robinson Crusoe. Brief summary of the Robinson Crusoe. In simple way, we should learn about it, because the island means it's a no man's land. Island means it's a no man's land. So this is completely untouched by the politics, and a peaceful life. And there were no technology, there was no religion, no technology, no religion. Such kind of things were there. But he was very much impressed. But when he comes back to the city of London, he is not comfortable to staying back here. And he wanted to stay there. And there he meet many people. There he meet many people. And during his traveling, many adventurous things happen. We're not going into that details, just we're looking at surface level. And most of the times he spends with the nature, animals, and one or two people. That is one kind of summary of this unit. Yeah, this genre, what kind of genre this novel is in? This is a adventurous story. This uh, this is what is it? This novel, it belongs to the adventurous genre because it's an adventurous story. This journey and the struggles of the main character. Adventure story means our protagonist Robinson Crusoe travels one place to another place for business purposes. And in the adventure story, it involves with a danger because we don't know what is happening in the coming future or in the next time. Action, whenever the situation arises, we need to fight and struggle to protect ourselves, to protect the situation, or to continue further, to move forward, to take risks and excitements of Robinson Crusoe. These are the part of the adventure story. Shipwrecked alone, because when he was alone, his ship was broken. Crusoe struggles against hardship, privation, loneliness, and cannibals in his attempt to survive on a deserted island. Because the cannibals, you know that, man eaters, when his ship was wrecked that time, in that place the cannibals were there. He was afraid, and he was afraid of the cannibals, but somehow he managed to survive on his own in a deserted island. And at the same time, this novel Robinson Crusoe also fixed into can be fit into a historical fiction, because Robinson Crusoe is considered to be the first realistic novel ever to be written by Defoe. From the Daniel Defoe point of view, Daniel Defoe is the author or is the writer of this Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe, he created the character. It is discussing about the realistic things because the day-to-day life activities it is representing about the religion, business things, and the racism, about God, everything it talks about in a realistic manner. It talks about in a realistic manner. And the story have thought to be based on the life of Alexander Skirk, not Skulk, Skirk. This is Alexander Skirk. Earlier, there was a traveler called Alexander Skirk. He documented something about his voyage, his journey. So based on his voyage, our fellow Daniel Defoe wrote this novel in the name of Robinson Crusoe. uh, about this Alexander Skirk. He's a Scottish person, lived for 4 years in a Pacific island called Mastiera. Mastiera. Now it is part of the Chile country, which is renamed Robinson Crusoe Island in 1966. So this was the background of that novel, Robinson Crusoe. And again we can say that this is a novel of isolation, because many times in many situations it talks about the isolation, because when the person is stuck up due to his shipwreck, he is the alone person. Nobody was there to take care of him. He's a man of isolate person. Nothing is touched by him. And another one is considered a place of captivity, holding him back from his dreams and wishes like a prison. When he was stopped in an island, there are no people. So he felt like that this place is like a prison. His all dreams and expectations, wishes were shattered. Then later, he returned to his homeland, England, and then the England also, when he comes back, he did not comfortable. Well, he cannot adjust to himself in the mainstream society. Again, he went back to the same island. It seems to be this novel is antisocial. Means antisocial means the people who are not interested to meeting with others and starts to enjoy being alone. This Robinson Crusoe slowly become the antisocial, means he doesn't like to meet the people. They are not up to his interests, and also, uh, he started enjoying this being alone, being alone. The loneliness, not it is the loneliness, but here it's being aloneness. The alone means he likes to enjoy that solitariness. He likes to enjoy his loneliness, his aloneness. That is what this novel is discussing. And the narrator and POV means point of view. Narrator is the Robinson Crusoe, both the narrator and main character of the tale. Narrator means Robinson Crusoe is narrating the story, and most of the times it is discussing in the personal pronouns. Personal pronouns I or we, like I and us. The novel is discussing about. And the point of view is that POV means point of view. Crusoe narrates in both the first and the third person. His focus was not on feelings. So Crusoe occasionally describes his feelings because it's from his point of view. He's not talking about himself. He's talking about the outside things and other things. So that is why often often he talks about the other things and occasionally he talks about his feelings. He favors more factual narrative style, focused on actions and events, not on fancy things like describing the beauty of the nature. Because he spends most of the times in the island. So island means it's a beauty, it's a nature, but he is not talking about the beauty of the nature. He's talking about the predicament of the human when he is alone, when he doesn't have the resources, when he is struggling with to find out what is there in the dark, when he is struggling with his own fear. Such things he talked about in this novel. And the novel setting means the background of the novel is the temporal setting, means the time period is the 1659 to 1694. Within the time period the novel was setting. And another spatial means the space, the time, like the England where he lived, Africa, Brazil, the geographical locations, islands, England, Lisbon, England. And it talks about the tea plantations, and island of Trinidad, because these are the geographical locations. The temporal locations, it talks about the time period between that period, and the spatial means these are the geographical locations frequently come in this novel. One is the Trinidad Island and England, Africa, Brazil, and again Lisbon, about some plantation stories. Then Africa and Brazil become a owner of a sugar plantation. Become a owner of sugar plantation. There he owned a sugar farm. The England, because that is his place. And England again he returned from the island. And Lisbon, because of he has some property there and one woman something living there. He wanted to meet her. So these are the spatial settings. And tone of the novel. Crusoe's tone is mostly detached because of his isolation. He is detaching from many things. He generally avoids dramatic storytelling. That means he's telling a realistic events. He is very rarely registers his own feelings or those of other characters. He's not talking of his own feelings. He's talking about the realistic situations that is happening or around him. Only does so when those feelings affect a situation directly. Something happens to him directly, that time only he is talking, expressing his feelings. And yeah, this is a kind of a novel structure. Structure of the novel, it's called as a plot. Plot has three things: rising action, climax, and falling action. Rising action, climax, and falling action. These things you will learn in the criticism. But whenever you are reading a novel, the novel structure is like this. But the novel has a plot. The plot has this kind of a structure: rising action, climax, and falling action. Rising action means the Crusoe disowns his father and goes out to sea. Crusoe has a profitable first merchant voyage, his fantasies of success in Brazil, and prepares for a slave gathering expedition. So this is the beginning story, because when his father asked him to like work in the church as a priest, he doesn't like it. Against his father, he went into the sea for trading, and the first journey is a very profitable journey, and he was very dream of big things, and he wanted to go to the Brazil and other people, because there are these African people, the black people are chiefly available, and so he wanted to bring them to work in his agriculture fields, in his plantation fields. That is the rising action. The climax is Crusoe becomes shipwrecked in an island near Trinidad, forcing him to fend for himself and his basic needs. That time something is happening to his ship, and he's stuck up there. These strugglings were dealing with in the area of the climax. And another one is the falling of action. The Crusoe constructs a shelter, secures food supply, and accepts his stay on the island as the work of providence. Like when he was there on the island, that time slowly he started accepting the reality. Okay, I cannot go against the nature. I cannot go against my circumstances and the things. So whatever is happening, let it be happen, and I should adjust myself to this atmosphere or to these circumstances. So he accepted the situation, and he started to living there, because he lived in a beautiful houses in the cities. Everything is available for his in his hand. At the stretch of his hand, everything is available. Money is available, food is available, people are available. He can contact, he can travel here and there. But when he stuck up here, there were no one. But even though there were no one, he started to live there. He adjusted himself, he trained himself to live in that place. So this is comes in the category of the falling action. The themes it deals with, one of the major themes is the nature, because he is always living in the sea is the nature, and in the forest is the nature. Crusoe is the main at the peace with the nature. He loves the sea and the outdoors. Yeah, that is his nature. That is his nature, because he loves the sea and the outdoors. And when he is marooned, leave behind on the island, and finds himself alone with only nature as his companion. There are no people. Just he listened the bird sounds, he looked at the sea roarings and winds of the trees, how they are moving, the rains, everything. He started enjoying it, because no other people were there except him. When he looks at the natural world, he sees its utility and the value of that. He believes that nature is something that keeps us away from evilness of this world. So that is why when he come back to the city of the England, after completing his business, and but he was not comfortable to staying back in the England. So because of the evil nature people, and so that is why again he come back to the island. So there are no people. Instead of opening on the beauty of things, he notices production of the values. He is not talking about or admiring about the beauty. Of course, he likes the nature. He likes the nature. Most of the time he spends in the nature. But he is not admiring, he is not praising, or he is not interpreting the beauty. He is, because he is a businessman, he is a trader, he is an Englishman. They want to trade something, they want to create a value something. When he was there in that island, he is creating a value. He is creating a value for the productions, for the products, for the products, for the products, and for the plantations, for the trees, whatever is available, the sources. He is giving a value. That is the nature of a business person, and he was quick to use things from nature to help him survive. Yeah, he learned many things from the nature to survive in that place. He uses the trees and the plants to build himself a canoe, and homes animals to provide him with a food. Yeah, he actually he was helped by the nature, because he used the trees and other places to canoe means a small ship. He built a ship to travel, because his ship was broken in the mid of the sea. And another one, homes animals to provide him with the food from the animals. He take the food. So that is why he survived with the nature. When he was at the when he was at the in the forest, relation with the God, of course the nature, and he believes in the God. Is against to work in the church, but he believes in the God. And this is also dealing with the religion, and especially God versus nature. God is also one of the theme. And one important character is the Robinson Crusoe is our character. Is a practical person. Is a practical person. We know that because he likes the reality rather than the praising the beauty or admiration of the beauty. It's a mental and spiritual development. It talks about this person, Robinson Crusoe, mental and spiritual development as a result of his isolation. Because why we want to stay alone? Why we want to stay? Because we expect some kind of a mental peace, some spiritual peace. In that way, we look for the isolation, same as this Robinson Crusoe has done. And uh, because this is talks about the jury is talks about is African people as another character in the name. You can see them. Portuguese captain is another character. Another character when his ship was wrecked. That time they met these people. But one should be Crusoe's parents also. There are the characters. Crusoe's parents, he was a butcher, but his father was a butcher, but asked him to work in the church. Remember up to that? This is very, very important character, Friday. You remember and write in your exam also. Is another friend or a servant? No. Earlier he treated him as a friend, but later he treated him as a servant. In the deep of his heart, he considered him as a friend, but in the above all, he treated him as a servant because the Friday is a black person. He spends a number of years on the island with the main character who saves him from the cannibalistic death. This Friday is an African guy. He is there in the island. Earlier, he doesn't found any people, but later he found this person, Friday. Friday is an African person. Friday is a basically Crusoe's. Protege means a living example of religious justification of the slavery relationship between the two men. His eagerness to be redone in the European image is supposed to be conveyed that this image is indeed the right one. Means like he's a friend. He's a friend kind of a person. He's a very good person, very kind-hearted person. But end of the day, Robinson Crusoe treated him as a servant. Deep of his heart, he is considering him as my friend because of the racism, because this person is a black person. So these people deserves only these kind of a jobs. But by his nature, the Friday has a friendly nature. Friday has a friendly nature, and Robinson Crusoe also developed a good relationship with the Friday, but he treated him as a servant. That is very, very important character. This Maurice Spaniard, these are the characters that will come. Yeah. The wealth is one of the important theme in it because his job is to trade. This is an 18th century mariner on the high seas. Robinson Crusoe is a very interested in commerce, trade, and the accumulation of wealth. As we have discussed, this is a very romantic job to travel and to the trade and to get the wealth. Then that person will consider as a very noble person or a great person or a considerable person, recognizable person in the English society. He makes money in Africa and also in the sugar plantations he buys in Brazil by using these Africans as the slaves in his agriculture fields. Crusoe's economic individualism, it talks about. Crusoe's father argues that it's best to have a neither extreme wealth nor be in a dire poverty. Instead, the moderation of the middle classes presents the happiest and most contented state of life possible in that society. That is his father's point of view. Yeah, the wealth, most of the times so he was looking for the wealth when he was there in the forest also, that in that island, rather than admiring or enjoying that beauty, he is looking for the value of the products, how to create wealth among it. That was his nature. And slavery is the another thing because it comes, we can learn it through the character of the Friday and slavery, because the Africa and Brazil, where he can use the African people, the black people, as slaves in his forests and plantation places, sugar plantations. Slavery is another theme. Yeah. Themes of colonialism, of course, this is there. The colonialism, the British imposition. Themes of self-awareness, we can write down theme of self-awareness. Daniel Defoe followed the doctrines of Presbyterian. Presbyterian means the church-related matters. It's a Protestant faith. Presbyterian means it's a Protestants, Catholics and Protestant. No, it's a church-related matter. One of these was as an individual must remain conscious of his own soul and identity. So that is why he behaved with the Friday. His individual identity is the white identity. These people are the supreme people. though despite of his relationship with the Friday, and despite of the Friday's help, he has such kind of opinion. The theme of family and life is another theme. Yeah, that's it. These are the well, yeah, these are the topics about Robinson Crusoe. This is important chapter. Oh, I haven't seen the. Can you send the PDF? Okay. Well, hello. Are you able to listen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. Thank you. And they sent some messages. Is there any message for me? Will you please? Can you send PDF through email? Which email, Reshma? Reshma. Which email you want to send? Shekhar Srinivas. I am not in any WhatsApp group. Shekhar, you are from Srikalahasti.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Shekhar, take down my number.
Okay, sir. Tell me, sir.
6300.
Wait, sir. 6300
I am typing here 6300 71
71
6581.
6581. Okay, sir.
English PDF, sir. Reshma Nayak. Reshma Sheikh. What is this Reshma? I am not able to understand. I'm not part of this. Sumaya Shukur, no. Okay. Anybody have? No. If anybody has it, even send it to me. And one of our friend, Bindu, she is there, Bindu Kalyani, and she maintains a group, and ask her to join in her group. Her name is Bindu Kalyani. She maintains a group.
Sir, I shared link.
You shared the link. Very good. Okay. This is the first unit.
Sir, you also join. Will get some important questions.
I'm there already, Sumaya.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
I'm there, and if there anything, just find out with the Bindu. I posted my number also there. Anything else? This first unit and second unit are important, compulsory questions. Compulsory 2 questions will come, so pay attention on it. First block especially. This is the early English novel. No, either it is from the Joseph Andrews. Tomorrow I'm going to discuss it. Henry Fielding. And today's is the Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. In the first unit, there is nothing, only the background, social and political circumstances, the development of education, industrialization, middle class. These are the important points, and the early English writers and their forms of writing, epistolary writing, and another form, the Cervantes forms, Don Quixote style writing. These are the important things you should remember. Compulsory question will come in the fill in the blanks or match the followings, or in the short or long answers from this unit. Any other 2 more important? Who is shared it? Okay. No, I'm in class. Notice. Go to the other 2. Okay. Any other doubts? Because my session is completed, and even I can go for the other thing. Hello. Hello, sir. Host. Hello, host, sir. University. Hello. Yeah. Hello. I am winding up the session and we'll continue in the next class tomorrow.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
If you want to ask anything, please remind me during the session because we have only 5 or 6 classes and there are many units in this, especially in this subject. In this subject, you have these things. All are the novels, because very bulky novels, huge novels, many characters, themes. We cannot discuss in just 20 minutes or 10 minutes of time. Just will introduce you. So this concept is there, this concept is there, like that. So that is why I'm just speaking for examination point of view. If you want to know anything more, please interrupt and speak to me during the session, because I am taking for each unit 20 minutes time, 20 minutes for each unit to explain you the important topics. So that is why we are in the hurry.
Sir, excuse me, sir. When will be our next session, sir?
Tomorrow at the same time. Complete this weekend. Complete
Okay, thanks.
this week. 2:30 to 3:30 is our
Okay,
class till Sunday. Okay.
Only with this English fiction only, or other subject?
Only English fiction, because I am teaching this English fiction.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm teaching English fiction. Only this class is for this week. Okay. What shall I?
What about sir English in India? Next book.
Next book English in India. Maybe next week. The class is next week. Next Monday to
Okay.
Next Monday to Sunday, something like that, in the same time. 2:30 to 3:30.
Okay, thank you,
I'm
sir.
not aware of the time schedule, but my timings are this: 2:30 to 3:30. And Wednesday we have a holiday. Tomorrow and today and tomorrow we have a class. Wednesday is a holiday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday we have classes. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Leave the meeting. Yeah, I'm leaving. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.